My name is Zachary Conan. Imagine this cigarette is like a fuse, right? I light it, I can talk about 1985 Commando, directed remarkably well by Mark Lester and starring the one, the only Arnold Schwarzenegger. I light it, I can talk about it, but by the end of it, I have to shut up. It helps me keep these videos under 20 minutes, and trust me, it's necessary, right? Wrong! Okay, so Commando is possibly one of the most positively entertaining films of all time. It's often viewed as the granddaddy of the 80s action movie. It's the granddaddy of that wave of hyper-masculine, hyper-kinetic, and ultra-violent movies that the 80s and early 90s were known for. And that's one of my favorite eras of blockbuster film. I love tropes, and this film, basically you find every trope here. It's not just a mere celebration of tropes like something like Street Fighter II, the animated movie, was. It's also really the penmanship of tropes. You see some of these tropes being born, and that's what's really remarkable about Commando, because Mark Lester and D'Souza and even Jeff Loeb tailored this script around Arnold Schwarzenegger, around making him into something that wasn't before. A huge action star. A new postmodern John Wayne, if we could possibly think of it in those terms, because this character, John Matrix, is absurd. He is capital A absurd. I'm talking philosophically, and I'm talking anatomically. This action hero is infinitely quotable, and he's infinitely unreal. There is no part of this film that wants to be gritty in a way that is anything but visceral. It doesn't want to be gritty in the idea that you are watching realism. It wants to be gritty in the idea that you are watching heads being cut off, arms being sliced off, blood splatters bursting everywhere, explosions in your face. That's what it seeks to do. And you know what? This film is better composed than it has any right of being. All of the action sequences are brilliant, and this film really just serves pure action. Just serves pure action sequences. There's connective tissue bringing you to each new spectacle, but that's it. That's all that it's there for, and it's very upfront about it. It's not duplicitous. It's telling you this is a movie called Commando. We're going to show you balls-to-the-wall action. We're going to give you some connective tissue, there's going to be hilarious dialogue mixed in there, but we're just going to bring you to the finale. It's all heading to that finale, which is so well choreographed, perfectly captured action movie making, which is a purely visual means. There's a part in the finale where Arnold Schwarzenegger goes into like a woodshed, right? Like a tool shed, and gets axes and chainsaws, and because he's like a lumberjack or something in his retired off time, and he just starts hacking people up, and it becomes a proper gore fest. Just arms being sliced off, geysers of blood, just throwing knives at people. The film has reduced me to a child. It has reduced me to the first time that I ever watched it. It has reduced me to that level of immaturity, because I am over here literally acting out like daggers to the chest. And I really do like the villains in here. The villains are sleazy, they're slimy. Bennett and Cook are wonderful, and Bill Duke is always wonderful to see Bill Duke. But Bennett, in particular, is so sleazy, so slimy, so gross, with his chainmail, with his nasty mustache. It is pure action 80s, but pure American action 80s. I mean, it's funny. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger being a foreigner, he could not have been the icon that he was anywhere else but in America. And this is such a brilliant film to really catapult his stardom, because Jeff Loeb wrote the original script, but then D'Souza came in and rewrote it to fit Arnie's personality. And I think that's a stroke of genius there, because Arnie, this is really, when people love Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is why. This kind of film is why. It is not only the quintessential 80s American cheese action movie. It's the quintessential Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Not saying it's his best film. His best film is the Terminator or Terminator 2, most likely. But this is quintessential Arnie. And this is probably the Arnold Schwarzenegger that he wants you to remember, because he was very excited about getting the script for Commando. He's like, I'm not a caveman, I'm not a robot, I am, basically, he's like the postmodern John Wayne. This hyper-masculine, hyper-kinetic, and homoerotic, extremely muscular kind of person. This impossible human being telling this impossible story. And they're just... You know, this is a difficult video because I don't have too much to articulate, really, about this film specifically, at least poetically or analytically. This film is just a blast. I can make videos where I just think that a movie is a riot, an absolute blast from beginning to end. I love this movie. I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely incredible. One of the funniest opening title sequences in the world. They're like feeding deer and like lumberjacking everywhere. And it only gets better. Let's party. Dude. Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. No wonder you were one of my heroes when I was a kid, when I was growing up. And I love there's like a Stallone interview where he was pissed off about this movie. He's like, Arnold would always do what I would do, but right afterwards and a bit more polished. I did Rambo, you did Commando. God, I wish we had that kind of nauseating war going on right now. God, I love Commando. But honestly, Lester put together these action sequences incredibly well. Because this could just be one of those how did this get made, one of those so bad it's not even good. This one is so good it has no right being this good, because so much of it is so purposefully bad, so bad with vision. That's what's amazing about it, because you can watch it and you can laugh at it. You're supposed to laugh at it. It's absurd, capital A. But you can't say that there's no talent involved in it, because there's an extremely high amount of it. And it's a tactile amount, a visceral amount that you can feel and you can experience. And that you can't even articulate or translate well. Because you are watching the most absurd, threadbare story in the world being told in incredibly visual means. Honestly, Lester's direction is pretty stunning during these action sequences, and as I said earlier, this film just serves the action sequence. There's no other purpose for this film other than connective tissue leading you to the next big thing. I love Commando. The granddaddy of all action movies for Americans. What we use as action films. The birthplace of a lot of the iconography that action movies have built their empire around and continue to do so to this day. What did you guys think of Commando? Did you love it as much as I did? Shamelessly, I should say. This isn't even a guilty pleasure. This is one that I will say, yep, it's pretty remarkably composed. No shame in my game. What did you guys think of Commando? Where does it rest in your understanding of Arnold's career? Do you think it's better than Predator? Do you think it's better than Conan? Where do you think it lies in his career, and what do you think it did for his career? And what do you think it did for American action movies? Do you think that the American action movie craze of the mid to late 90s, really, do you think that was a good thing for film? Do you think that cinema benefited from it overall? I would argue that it did, but I celebrate tropes relentlessly. I have a different kind of opinion when it comes to blockbusters and how important they are. I think that those kind of films are very important, especially in retrospect. It's hard to tell when something's important when it's happening right then and there. But I think in retrospect you could tell that the Commando and the films that followed had something really bizarre and absolutely absurd and ludicrous to say about the American character of that time period. And it's fascinating to go explore those themes, those concepts, and those ideas. My name is Zachary Conan. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Let's body! Was that an Arnold impression? I really hope it wasn't, because it was terrible. Thank you.